ultimate, the fucking toxic teacher, the ultimate Mel.
All right, everybody, here we go. I am working on one of my requests. I've got a backlog like 7 miles long of requests from viewers. I used to have a channel point thing. Now in the Discord, we've got one of those things where people could just post YouTubes. And we've talked about this issue on the last episode of the podcast, Camping Them Softly. Go check it out. Rate it 5 stars if you can. We've also got, follow all my socials and stuff. They're down there at the bottom along with the podcast. So appreciate that. But I want to get into it. I don't want to waste your time. We have been talking about this new program that became public, I think it was earlier this week or maybe last week, that Behavior has a consultant program, which is separate from the Fog Whisperer program. And I went into a little bit more detail on this, like I said, on the podcast, but I want to watch this video. One of my loyal viewers and listeners, Dak, sent this to me. So we're going to start, I'll stop it at different times and I'm going to be checking because this is one of my first ones where I've done all this. So forgive me if I screw anything up. I'm going to leave it in. I don't edit my shit. That's too much work. So here we go. Without further ado.
So, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, I'm fucking pissed off. Pissed off, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
I don't know if I'm pissed, but okay.
You may have heard recently that Behavior publicly announced their partnered consultant program.
Can I do that?
Supposedly takes dedicated members of the DBD community and pays them to test out early in development changes to the game. Now, at first glance, this seems...
Okay, so this settles something on the podcast. I had this question because I had heard somebody say that they were being paid, and I didn't know if that was true, and I couldn't find it as I was doing the podcast. I couldn't find that information anywhere. To me, though, if this is true, I wish somebody could tell me 100% if this is true. I don't know if it's been verified or if it's even been said that they are being paid or if this is just, something that's kind of out there. But if they are being paid and if Fog Whisperers are also consultants, to me, that brings up a major conflict of interest because you're hiding the fact that you're getting paid money by the company you are an ambassador for. And we were led to believe that Fog Whisperers were not being paid, right? That they were some kind of a volunteer. And so if they are getting paid for another position within the same company that's been hidden for potentially years, I think a couple of people have said whenever Legion came out, that was whenever this started. If that's the case, to me, this is a big deal. Like, this is a big problem that they're going to have to do some kind of damage control on. And I haven't been looking the past couple of days, so if there's been something, I haven't seen any further news past like the initial backlash to Hens whenever he first tweeted about it. So let's keep going. So talking about the payment.
Seems like a really good change and something that the community has been begging for years. With all of these weird changes like the Twins rework that was a complete disaster, or the weird shift from trying to nerf Hillbilly to then turning around and giga buffing him to being a top tier killer, the balance of the game has been completely bipolar, and this consultant program has been the answer we're looking for, right?
Okay, so the question is, has this consultant program been the answer we're looking for? The answer is probably not, especially if it's been going on since Legion came out. That means everything since Legion has had the input of consultants, meaning that they're part of the reason for the Twins issue. They're part of the reason for the bipolar up, down, left, right on everything that's been happening, on everything with the Knight, Singularity, Skull Merchant 2.0, fucking, the Stranger Things being taken away. They're at fault for everything. Let's just say they're at fault for everything. Like, can we blame them? Can we just place blame on them rather than Behavior? Or they both. I don't know. Okay, let's keep going. So we answered that question. Let's keep going.
No. On the contrary, this consultant program seems like a big corporate sham. The first thing that's incredibly important to point out is that this consultant program isn't new. In fact, it's old. We know it at least goes back several years to when Dowsey was still playing Dead by Daylight. And according to him, even back then the consultants were not listened to and cited it as one of the reasons he ultimately decided to give up on the game.
Okay, so hang on. Dowsey, I know he was a former Dead by Daylight streamer. I was never into him that much. But it shows just how far back it goes. So we have kind of confirmation. And Dowsey also says it was a waste of time trying to improve anything. I don't know if it's a waste, though, because I would be curious to know what input they actually took and what they didn't. Just to say that they didn't listen to my ideas, so therefore it's a waste of time. I don't necessarily buy that, because my ideas are great to me, but that doesn't mean they're great. And that doesn't mean they're always the best. And there's so many different things that go into it that you are a part of the bigger equation. Now, were his ideas better? In some ways, probably yes. Were they listened to in a lot of ways? Probably no. But, you take your ball and go home, why not keep trying, I guess. But then it's priority thing, right? Everybody has their priorities. Everybody has their own prerogatives. So it was his prerogative to go. So anyway, let's keep going.
Saying it wasn't, unfortunately. I used to be a consultant for DVD during Twins and Trickster. It is honestly part of the reason I quit. It was such a waste of time trying to improve anything. So if the consultant program is this old, then why are we now suddenly just hearing about it? Why is Behavior going public with this and even announcing that they're giving members a unique cosmetic to celebrate it? It makes no sense to me.
I agree. That does make absolutely zero sense.
Bad, like really bad. There was always some speculation that Fog Whisperers had some input in game direction choices or this or that, but by announcing this consultant program, Behavior just effectively killed the credibility of the Fog Whisperer program. It is dead because they essentially just confirmed that Fog Whisperers in their eyes are just advertisers for the game and nothing more, which is obviously going to make the...
What I would be curious about there, he mentions that, are they just advertisers for the game or are they more than that? I would be curious to know if it was advertised, if the Fog Whisperer program is advertised as being, a position where you actually have input on balance and things like that. Because if they're advertising it that way, then you've essentially got two different things going on. You have paid consultants and unpaid, unofficial consultants we just call Fog Whisperers, right? Which you can have in a company paid interns and unpaid interns at the same time. That doesn't make it right, but that makes it what happens, obviously. So he is right, though, that this is going to probably lead some people to not want to be Fog Whisperers, because if you are going in with the mindset of, I want to make a difference, I want to have an effect on the balance in the future of the game, I want my input to be heard, this is probably not the way. Hydro recently left being a Fog Whisperer because he felt like he wasn't being listened to. Turned out he was probably right, because it doesn't seem like he was a consultant, to be honest with you. Okay.
DBD community look at Fog Whisperers like shills, right? And at that point, why would you stay in the Fog Whisperer program? I know I would leave instantly. As I'm putting this video together right now, Spooky Loops just left the program over this as well.
Anyways, all right, so here's the scoop. Here's the fucking scoop. All right, I'll tell you the scoops. Because you know what?
I love you.
I can do that now, right?
I am watching. I just realized I'm reacting to a reaction video.
I've kind of known that was out there, but
or an analysis.
Called it is Consultation Crew. Consultation Crew. Have you seen it on Twitter today?
I have actually never. Number one, he has the same microphone as me.
Is they work
Number two,
content for the game.
He reminds me of a guy I used to work with at one of my old companies, but the guy was crazy. I don't know if this guy's crazy because I never really watched him.
It is a direct line to Behavior where you're part of like the testing team, essentially, where you get to go and work on new stuff with the team and get feedback and things like that. Pretty much game testers to an extent. Yeah, I'm on the program, obviously, so I don't know, right? So
he says he's not in the program.
we've kind of already known that was a thing that's out there. I'm not gonna bullshit. I've been around the game for almost 5 years. I get it that those programs I already knew from years back that they exist, right? Like most game companies probably have their own little squad of people they use. It doesn't matter, right? So when I joined the Fog Whisperer program, and I'm trying to come from this from an angle. I'm not.
Okay, so here's my question, and he may answer this later, but my question would be, if he has such a problem with it now, and he may address this. Like I said, I want to pause now to kind of give my thoughts and then see where he goes. He says he's known about it for years, right? So why is he just now quitting over it? Is it because it went public and that destroys his credibility as a fog whisperer because he was, and that kind of undermines what he, his position, his standing, right? Because if they say, well, now the fog whisperers are shills, that makes him a shill. And maybe he doesn't want to get that. He wanted it to be kind of an elevated status, right? A mark for him, in the positive.
Whiny bitch, right? I've said this in the past before, but I've had some problems with behavior recently in terms of how they value me as an asset for this game. So I've said it a whole bunch of times. I've talked about it directly to the team. I know that this program is kind of in the works. I'd like to be involved. That's what, and this is my fault too. When I signed up for the Fog Whisperer program, I personally thought that this was going to be a direct line for me to be able to have one step closer more than the public does to lay some input and give my opinion on certain things and balancing and whatever the case may be involving Dead by Daylight, right?
Okay, so let's stop there. His assumption was that this would allow him to have input, right? And I believe Otsdarva was kind of the same way. He said he felt like his input wasn't being listened to. I'm curious. I'm really curious. Did they advertise the Fog Whisperer program as a means to give input? If they didn't, then he's making an assumption. That assumption is not coming true, and then he's getting upset about it. If they never said that, if they never said, we're going to listen to your input over other people's, if your input will be so much more valuable to us than everybody else's, if they never said that, then it's on him, and it's on Otsdarva and anybody else that thought the Fog Whisperer program was some kind of special input type thing. We don't know that that's the case, and it might have been advertised. If it was advertised and they were hiding this other thing, totally on behavior.
That was my idea. I'm completely wrong. I came to terms with that. I'm signing on as a brand ambassador, and that is it. My job is to use my platform, whether it's Twitch, my live audience, or my almost 700,000 subscribers on YouTube,
Woo!
to push this game, right? That is my job. I am a promotional tool, and that's all it'll ever be, right?
Right.
I've had frustrating parts with this program before. Recently, it
Okay.
started with like the Lights Out program. The Lights Out game mode was only hand selected. Remember we talked about this? It was only hand selected for a couple of people.
Okay.
Why not all of us? Why not all the Fog Whisperers that are in the program? There's like 60 of us anyway. So, long story short, the program gets announced today.
Okay.
That they have publicly. Why it's public, I don't understand why.
I agree.
I don't care how they got in it.
I don't know why they would do this.
Viewers, 50,000 viewers. You have 100 hours. You have 5,000 hours. I don't care. Why is it announced publicly? Why? So this is what I said in Discord. I said this in Discord today. I said, what I find so interesting about this recent consultation crew becoming public is I feel a lot of us already knew something like this existed, but whoever on the PRT made the decision to bring this program to the public either did not consider how this makes the Fog Whisperer program look, or they just simply didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, he's 100% right.
Not only does this shove a bigger wedge between us and the community, which is us and the Fog Whisperer.
I mean,
the Fog Whisperer program, right? But it paints us to be the lesser of the two programs. I understand that there are certain people that are needed to join the program for accessibility reasons, but to not even have your own candidates that you handpick to join this program given a shot really goes to show that you don't take any of us seriously. I would stick around for Vecna codes, but I'm too embarrassed. I quit.
Wait.
Fog Whisperer program. That's it.
I don't want to use too much of what he said here, though. He's making his own video about it.
Okay.
Maybe
let's see what the reaction to the video said.
Keep an eye on his channel for his full thoughts on the
Okay.
matter. Going back to why did Behavior announce this publicly? Well, I have a theory.
Okay, what's your theory?
Failure of the Twins rework PTB.
Okay.
Where they reverted 90% of the update because it was so terrible. I said this
We're getting into conspiracy theory territory.
like a douche, but imagine if you just asked the community about these change ideas before spending the development time and resources on implementing.
Okay, before spending the time and effort on implementing them. So are they using the consultants as a scapegoat then? If they're saying, well, the whole rework or update sucked, so it's not us, it's these consultants that we're paying. That's conspiracy theory level. And unless I don't normally buy into that kind of stuff, so I would need something there.
Implementing them only to have to immediately revert 90.
He might not be saying that though.
All right, so that's what I said, and this tweet did blow up a bit. It got a lot of responses.
It did blow up a bit.
We even got a based response from Otts, which makes me assume he was unaware of the consultant program as well. So I'm assuming somebody at Behavior, probably on their PR team or something similar to that, decided, okay, let's announce the consultant team publicly to make it look like we're doing something new. They presented it like it was a new program on purpose when it's existed for years, which already comes across incredibly.
Did they present it like it's a new program? Okay, hang on. I'm gonna push back there. He said they presented it like it was a new program. I don't know that they ever said that or that it was ever heavily implied. They said they could officially announce it, but they never once said that this was new. So I'm pushing back there. I think they announced it to change the narrative maybe, but they are not being misleading in when it began. I don't think so. Now, if I'm wrong, please give me some evidence pointing out that I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
To the coin. One is obvious because they do get good publicity by intentionally trying to trick people into thinking this is a new program.
I don't think they did that.
Also, they get to sort of use these consultants as a shield now, right?
Okay, so that was the same as what I said, use them as a shield.
Like they did with the Twins rework, and then turn around and say, hey, the consultant team is a group of individuals from the community like you, and they thought it was fine. Now, Behavior will never directly say that, but it is the implication, right?
No, that's what you're taking from it.
Heavily, when in reality,
No.
they probably had very little input. I mean, the only inside source, not under NDA, said they didn't listen to anything. So again, ask yourself, what is the point of announcing this?
I don't have a good answer. I don't.
Idea.
There is no good response as to why they did this.
But if they're greenlighting things like the Twins rework, then they're kind of useless, right? Or maybe these consultants never even saw the Twins rework, but
that could be the case.
Why announce this publicly? It doesn't make any sense outside of the reasons
it doesn't make sense, and the reasons this person gives don't make a whole lot of sense either. I'm sorry I'm talking over him.
Grabbing people out of nowhere to do this instead of
some of these statements kind of veer off in odd territory. They seem to be randomly grabbing people out of nowhere. We don't know where they're getting them from and why. Now, you can't just say it's random, because I highly doubt it's random, especially if they're paying. You don't pay people random. You don't just pick somebody and say, hey, here's $7,000, just figure it out. Give me some fucking input. You don't do that, okay? So in the whole idea of we're jumping down these kind of paranoid rabbit holes, I don't buy that. I think... Let me go into my own. Okay, so let's jump. I'm saying he's going into easy for me to say. I'm not going to edit it though. I'm saying that he's going to go down this paranoid rabbit hole. Let me go down one of my own. It could be that this was going to get out anyway. Maybe they knew that it was going to get out somehow. Upset consultants, something like that. I don't know. I know this is going into left field, but they said we need to get out in front of it to set the narrative before it goes bad another way. That could be it. And that would be a wise decision on their part, as opposed to some of these other ones, which I don't think these are as feasible.
Of their own fog whisperers. even after Spooky Loops literally asked to be a part of it and was just totally ignored. To me, that means they want a very specific group.
Now, see, the assumption was he was just totally ignored. We don't know that to be the case. And I don't think Spooky Loops ever said he was totally ignored. So this is where a lot of these reaction videos, they jump, they make these logical jumps, and they do this like logical aerobic yoga contortionism to go off onto the deep end, which no.
To be a part of this, and it just feels kind of shady. Now, I get the angle that Behavior wants some casual players to be a part of this so they can get some casual perspective.
Why not?
But at the end of the day, casual players don't really understand cause and effect. So they tend to lean into things more emotionally than players who have a deep understanding.
Okay, see, this is where, and this is kind of, in my opinion, this kind of shitty here, I'm going to be real honest with you, is to say because somebody is a casual player, they somehow have less of an understanding. When you need casual players just like you need high level skill, high MMR, whatever you want to call it, players. You need both groups. So if you were going to have consultants who would provide feedback and provide reliable feedback, and I'm saying reliable in the sense that it's timely, it's well communicated, well documented, blah, 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 then wouldn't you want to take people from each specific group so you could figure out what changes work for this group, this group, this group, especially if they're well-intentioned, they're logical people that can say what works and what doesn't and articulate that well. If it was me with the game company, you bet your ass I would get casual and high skill players and put them all together and say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? To say that, well, they don't understand cause and effect, that speaks really bad. I'm trying not to get too aggressive here because that really rubs me the wrong way. And I feel like that shouldn't have been said because casual players can provide just as valuable input on the state of the game as high MMR players. And sometimes it might be more because high MMR players become blinded by the ecosphere that they're in. And they can create changes that might be good for them, but you've got to put yourself in the mind of a casual new player to the game, right? Because we want new players. We want a larger player base. No.
Of the game, and I'm willing to bet that unbiased, highly experienced players will know how to make the game more fun for casual players than an actual casual player would, right? So it's a very
No, not right. I don't necessarily think that.
What tends to happen is that you get a group of people together that all need to be super aware of each other's feelings because members of these groups will tend to get really upset if they get challenged, even if it's 100% not personal and you're strictly talking about the game. So much like a clique, they'll sort of push people out who are more inclined to be passionated about
passionated's not a word.
Don't agree with, and then the whole thing can become a cringe echo chamber. Hopefully that's not the case here, but I would not be surprised if it is.
I mean, he went off on this whole thing about echo chambers and people getting offended and this and that. Like that's creating your own little narrative bubble here, which don't even know if that's the case. Don't even know. To exclude casual players in the name of like, this is going to create a better consultant program, to me is ridiculous. You should have in any group of people giving input, especially if this is a product that goes out to a large diverse group, you want representatives of each one of those groups to give you opinions and feedback. You don't just want it to be as one specific subset and say that one specific subset knows best for everybody else. How does that make sense? Tell me how that makes sense, please. Let's keep going.
And you might say, well, these consultants aren't the devs, so how is it their fault if bad balance choices go through? And what I would say, if that's the case, again, then what is the point of these consultants existing?
Okay, so what is it their fault? In essence, no, it's not their fault because the person that pushes the update button is an employee of behavior, and they're acting on behalf of behavior. The actual updates that roll out are the sole responsibility of the company, not the consultants that they're paying. The consultants are giving input. That's all they're being paid to do, as far as I know. See, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole and say, here's what they're being paid for, here's the job posting, because we don't have that information. So we cannot put it on them.
If the devs don't care at all what they say, or at the very least, why the hell did you decide to make this public? None of it makes any sense logically. The only thing about this consultant program that has me willing to give it a shot is the fact that Hens and Otofu are members of it. I do trust their game knowledge, but groupthink is a hell of a drug, and being able to be in—
Okay, so right there. This, I know we're going off topic here, but right there he says groupthink is a hell of a drug. That's exactly, he's making 2 points that are completely contrary to each other. Number one, that a diverse group with casual and high MMR is somehow not a good thing. And then you don't want groupthink, but if you split and you just take that small subset, that's how you get that echo chamber there. It's just this is not a logical argument being made.
Involved in the game development, it just isn't something many people would want to throw away by being too hard-headed, right? The overall point is, though, I was stoked when they first announced this. I thought finally we might be getting somewhere with better balance, and then boom, it was all a very subtle lie. These consultants have very little to no input.
I don't know that was a lie.
That good, not sure which it is. The program has been around for years already, proving its ineffectiveness. It has straight up killed the Fog Whisperer program by announcing it publicly.
Now,
the only former member of it, not under NDA, said these consultants don't get listened to at all anyway. So I don't know. I'm definitely a bit bummed out now. What do you all think? I'm curious on your thoughts.
I'm telling you exactly what I think.
Don't forget to leave a like,
subscribe, all that stuff.
And as always, thanks for—
So let's finish up our thoughts on this. Number one, I disagree with about half the things that were said. I do agree with certain things. Number one, it does hurt the Fog Whisperer program. Number two, it doesn't make sense why this thing even came out to begin with. And then number three, I think those are the only two things I agree with. But what I want to say as far as the disagreements, I think this goes down way too many rabbit holes. We have very little information as to what's going on here. I can't even prove that they're being paid. I would really want to know. Somebody tell me somewhere. I actually tried to find it, can't find it. If they are being paid, then that's a problem. If they're also Fog Whisperers, you should not be able to be both in any way. Because that creates this huge conflict of interest. I'm not going to wrap up. You heard everything, I believe. I can wrap it up saying this is some paranoid stuff. We need more information, basically. We'll see what happens. We'll see how the damage control works, and maybe in the future we'll find out where it goes from here. I don't know that this is going to have a huge impact on the game, or if there's going to be a huge public backlash. I'm still going to be involved in the game. I still enjoy the community. It's not going to get my panties in a wad, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that is it. I think that's it. Let me go. I think I'm done.
Have a good one.
Okay, yeah, that's have a good one. Okay. All right, so guys, that is all that I've got for this video. This is going to be the first of many reactions. They're coming up fast and furious. I've got Dak is sending me boom, 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 boom. So I gotta get on it, and I will. And you'll see me next time for another reaction video just like this guy. Leave me a like and subscribe. Toxic Teacher TTV on Twitch, all that shit that you see right here, the podcast. If you want to be a contributor, a guest, let me know. Shout me out, find me somewhere, and then we'll get you on. We've gotten a couple others on, and look forward to hearing from you as well. Anyway, thanks, guys, and we'll see you when we see you.
The fucking ToxicTeacher!